Hey everybody, hope you had a good holiday season so far. Um, so just want to go through a couple things. I had a buddy who's kind of going through some stuff. So I kind of wanted to talk about something. It's kind of it's from NA and AA, but it's something you hear in addiction, and it's a little story. So basic story goes, addict fell in a hole and couldn't get out. A businessman went by and the addict called out for help. The businessman threw him some money and told him to get himself a ladder, but the addict could not buy a ladder while he was in this hole. A doctor walked by. The addict said, "Help, I can't get out." The doctor gave him some drugs and said, "Take this, it will relieve the pain." The addict said, "Thanks," but when the pills ran out, he was still in the hole. A well known psychiatrist rode by and heard the addict's cries for help. He stopped and asked, "How did you get in there? Were you born there? Did your parents put you there? Tell me about yourself. It will alleviate your sense of loneliness if you tell me." So the addict talked with him for an hour. Then the psychiatrist had to leave. But he said he'd be back next week. The addict thanked him, but he was still in the hole. A priest came by. The addict called for help. The priest gave him a Bible and said, "I'll say a prayer for you." He got down on his hands and knees and prayed for the addict. And he left. The addict was very grateful. He read the Bible, but he was still stuck in the hole. Finally, a recovered addict happened to pass by. The addict cried out, "Hey, help me! I'm stuck in this hole." Right away, the recovering addict jumped down in the hole right with him. The addict said, "What are you doing? Now we're both stuck here." But the recovering addict said, "Calm down. It's okay. I've been here before. I know how to get out." So basically, I think the thing that is always important when you're in any situation in your life is to understand, like, have you been there before? Do you know how to get out? If you don't, call somebody who might. And yes, this is an addiction parody, and this is the best I can remember it. But it's also important to think about life like this in general. There's I've had a friend who just told me about a situation he's in. He has a fund. Year to date, he like went straight down at the beginning of the year and has had a very hard time is dealing with redemptions and everything. So my heart goes out to him. But for anybody dealing with a situation like that or any situation, this year hasn't been easy for anybody. If your year to date is flat this year, like, give yourself a round of applause because it's been really tough. It is not an easy year. Next year will be much better. Returns will go back to being great, at some point. That's how it goes. It's always cyclical. Sometimes, I think people think because you're a professional, you can make money every day, all the time. It's just not how it works. Because you're a professional, you can stay flat at points. That's the best way to put it. You can stay flat at points and not lose too much money. That's the real difference. So basically, it's give yourself a pat on the back if you're flat. If you're only down a little bit, whatever, be kind to yourself. But if you're also going through something, understand that, maybe it's not time to give up. Maybe it's time to think about this differently, try harder, and understand that you do have people to reach out to call who've been in those situations. It takes this stuff takes a lot of time and a lot of just understanding, like, you can't control everything at points. Like, I do know over the long run, I will always do very well. I do know there will always be ebbs and flows in the short run. So in the long run, I hope you get something out of this, and know that I'm thinking about you, and give me a call if you want. But basically, I thought that was a good little story for everybody today. Anyways, so I want to share just a couple things. Nothing really major. We did talk about the market possibly bottoming in October. It has so far. Um, that looks good. So let's. I wonder if I can share while this is live. I'm sure I can. There we go. All right, so now we're sharing. So basically, I wanted to point to the market. Now, this was that. If you want to check out the last video we did, please do. I wonder why this is go away. 1 second. All right, there we go. So, anyways, looking at this, the Dow right here, the Dow basically came back to its 200 week moving average, bounced right back off of it. Is at the bottom forever? I'm not sure. I still think we rally into year end still. Yes, we did have that massive pullback last week. It's expiration week. Lots of tax loss selling this year was happening. Put that all together, you get a massive down week. This week and next week is usually when the Santa rally begins. So we should see some buying this week. We should see this go back up, possibly to getting back up and over that candle. Possibly, it just moves up from here and it's just choppy, but we'll see how that goes. That'll tell us a lot. We're still up and over that 10-week moving average on the Dow. So we'll see where that ends up. But some things are looking really good and some things aren't. And that's how every year is. I think one thing that's super interesting right now is silver. So silver, we're getting right into that very seasonal bullish period, and it's already been a very bullish. It's moved in a very good way. So gold, silver, platinum. November usually not a good month for silver. Actually, ended up being a decent month. Now we have December. This is where things get really bullish for silver and gold. It's moving nicely. January is even more bullish, so keep an eye on silver and gold here. That's definitely something we're going to want to keep an eye on. So looking at COT reports, now this is where things get very interesting. So right here, we got into positive territory and commercial buying. That's a very strong signal. Very rarely happens, but when we do get into positive territory and commercial buying, we usually see big rallies in the precious metals market. So right there, you see another big rally that was there. That was the 2019 one. That was very good. There's another one in 2018 when that all started. The first kind of bottom that kind of changed into this massive transition here into the gold and precious metals markets in general. So keep an eye on that. A lot of bullishness there. Looks like that could possibly be a bottom for a little while, and we can move to some new highs in silver. We keep blowing right through resistance over and over again. So let's hope that continues to happen. Here's the weekly chart. Always like these rounding bottom patterns. Big rounding bottom. Everybody likes a big round bottom. Coming out of here, basically this is where it's kind of gaining energy. That's how I like to think of it. As that energy moves out, we move out to the upside. We're up and over all the moving averages. We're hitting the top of the Bollinger Bands. That's a very bullish move so far. We still need to clear resistance around 26. We need to have more resistance around 30. That's obviously the major resistance is 30. We'll see if that can get back into a bullish trend. So looking at this next one, so this is a chart from Hackett Financial, and he kind of points to the wheat market and how we also have a lot of commercial buying in wheat. United States winter kill threat for next week for winter wheat looks for an explosive upside move. That was his headline. And this is also the weather pattern coming into the United States right there, and look at where we're going to hit. We're going to hit that whole wheat sector, probably going to hit corn and soybeans as well, just a little bit. So the wheat market has been walking around in a complete complacent daze to the winter kill risks that lurk ahead in the short but potential cold winter we forecasted, and the likely re-escalation of the Russia-Ukraine conflict that will likely shut off current expectations of steady supplies coming from the region. Hackett Financial also talks about this as well. Good research from him every time. But I do see that there's major commercial buying in these areas. this is something to really keep an eye on. Usually this is a good time to be buying. We want to be buying with the smart money, right? You know, these are the people that have a lot more information than any you or I ever will. And when they all tend to get bullish together, this is a good time to say, okay, this is where we're getting close to bottoms. Wheat is a very choppy market, one of the hardest markets to trade. It's very choppy, so be ready for that. But we could see that this is kind of looking like, okay, this possibly is bottoming here. We'll see as this moves to the upside, but this is majorly bullish at the moment. Coffee market, near-term supply issues reemerging and could offer a sizable rally heading into January 2023. Brazilian exports thus far in the month of December are 45% below what they were in November 2022 and are on track to be down 16% below what they were a year ago. So that's another one to keep an eye on is coffee. Coffee could be a very interesting one as well here. I really do like that coffee, wheat. This is a good time of the year to be looking at these things too as well. So keep an eye on those markets. How does it keep going back and forth on my screen? There we go. Okay, so I wanted to look at wheat really quick and just bring up a chart of coffee as well. Sorry, that pulled all my charts off and I have to go through those. So give me a second. So here's coffee. Coffee came back. Now this is a futures continuous contract, so know that some of the contracts probably made it right back to the 200 week, some didn't. But this is right around the 200 week, hanging out here with all this bullish news kind of coming out. I don't think this is something that drag the some of these grain markets and especially coffee back to new highs and continuing into a crazy rally. But I do think this is a good one that we can actually make a move back to this 250 zone. So let's see how that turns out. Coffee was a major outperformer last year, gave a lot back, but now it's kind of hanging out. So we'll see where coffee ends up. It's one to definitely keep an eye on in the meantime. Platinum's another one that's been kind of raging higher, slowly, looking like it put in like this little double bottom here. As you see, volume's been coming in like crazy. Same type of pattern, rounding bottom, blowing out to the upside. So we'll see where this one ends up as well. I definitely like the way platinum, gold, silver. These are amazing charts right now. So keep an eye on those. Sugar, that one made a nice move finally. Sugar making a nice move to the upside, getting out of this whole zone. Now this is the continuous contract, but the March contract is actually already at new highs and raging higher. So sugar is definitely one where you're going to want to be hanging out. Soybeans, still chopping around really. This is nothing to really do here, but I would be very interested if that did break out to the upside up and over this zone here. Taking a look at copper, kind of the same thing as the precious metals, which is odd. That usually doesn't happen that way. It's not quite as strong, but we're seeing that it did make a higher low. It is making higher highs and higher lows right now. So if we see that continuing, that would also confirm that the market has more to rally to the upside. After last week, I'm sure everybody in the world is very, very bearish, which also gives more fuel to the upside. It's the thing, the market didn't have much fuel at the end of last week. At the beginning of last week, the VIX started to get into the 20s. Like, once we get to that zone anymore, that's the point where the market's going to start giving some back. So now we have some fuel to add to the fire. Let's see if we can get this to move to the upside. And the one sector that is holding up still is energy. Even though oil has given a lot back, the energy sector is still holding up strong, which is very surprising. So, we are still long on the energy sector. So, all right, everybody. Hope you guys had a good holiday season. I'm gonna keep posting a little bit more now that things will kind of cool off a little bit around here. So hope everybody has a good Christmas. And we'll talk soon.